Hi, it's Eleanor, and I have a question for you. Are you serving your audience or impressing your peers? Stay with me on this one. So, one mistake I see entrepreneurs make a lot is actually overshooting their prospects. When you overshoot your prospect, you are unintentionally creating marketing and offerings that are impressive to your peers and kind of targeted to your peers, but are actually 10 steps ahead of the people that you are actually selling to. This overwhelms your audience. It impedes your ability to build a following and get known for something and ultimately grow sales. But when you commit to an audience and honor and serve them above all others, you can not only build a lucrative following, make a ton of money, but you can really enjoy the process. Today's episode will really help you stay grounded and focused in your marketing and growth strategy. Do not go anywhere.
So here's the question. In a world where the rules of business have been written by men, how do women entrepreneurs like us, women who want to make millions of dollars and impact millions of lives, how do we create enormous success on our terms? That's the question, and this show explores the answers. Welcome to Power Presence Position. I'm your host, Eleanor Beaton, and I'm on a mission to double the number of women entrepreneurs who generate over $1 million per year in annual revenue. I'm an award-winning entrepreneur, author, and leadership coach. I'm a wife, mom of 2 boys, and I'm the CEO of a 7-figure business. Stick around because on this show, you'll learn how to think, communicate, and get paid like a 7-figure CEO. Let's go.
In August 2019, I was not in my best health ever. I was actually dealing with some injuries that ultimately came from being pretty sedentary. So when my friend Graham told me that he was doing 30 days of yoga with Adrienne and that he was feeling really good and supple and healthy, I went ahead and checked out Yoga with Adrienne, learned all about her, and basically got hooked. So for those of you who don't know Adrienne Meisler and who Yoga with Adrienne is, it's basically a YouTube channel that specializes in at-home yoga. So on the advice of my friend Graham, I check it out. And I will be honest, since August 2019, I have been doing fairly regular at-home yoga. And I've tried other yoga teachers, but I stick with Adrienne because she just meets me where I am at, which is a simple, doable at-home yoga practice that doesn't injure me, doesn't push me beyond my limits. It's just really effective and it feels really good. So I started researching Adrienne Meisler almost as soon as I started doing her yoga. And this is a former actress who launched a small YouTube channel with a business partner in 2012. And the mission was really to help people do yoga at home and help people find what feels good. Adrienne talks a lot about not getting too fancy, about how a little goes a long way, about how it's not the shape that you're getting into, but how it feels. And I think that's what has made her so popular. She really honors and knows her audience. And her audience might include some advanced yogis, but honestly, the majority of us are people who don't want to be big-time yogis. We don't want to look amazing in our postures. What we really want is to feel good and be healthy doing some simple yoga at home. She doesn't overshoot us. She doesn't show us her advanced yoga practices. It's all about meeting us where we're at. She has committed to us, and that has made her massively successful and wealthy. When I started with yoga with Adrienne in August 2019, she had about 3 million subscribers. Today, she's been covered by the New York Times. In fact, they've called her the reigning queen of at-home yoga. She's made appearances on Good Morning America, in Bustle, and Women's Health magazine. This is the power of committing to an audience and not overshooting your prospects. It makes sense, right? Meeting your audience where they're at. But why is it so hard to do? Let's explore. All right, so let's talk about why women entrepreneurs like us feel tempted to overshoot our audience, to go above their heads, to give them information and tactics and tools that are where we're at in our journey, but not where they are at in their journey. I've identified two core reasons for this. One is our desire to change and grow, and another is actually our desire to impress. So let's start with this desire to change and grow. Bridget Brennan is an authority on women and selling to women. I've actually featured her on the show before. You can check that interview out. One of the things that she talks about is that a core feminine value is this idea of evolution, change, and growth. So evolution, change, and growth is an important feminine value. And I can relate to that. To me, I'm fascinated with development. I'm curious. I want to keep growing and learning more and knowing more and doing more. And that is tremendously fulfilling personally. But when we as women entrepreneurs mistake our desire for change and growth as a business strategy or a marketing strategy, we can easily overshoot our audience, so that your marketing strategy becomes about your growth, not about your customer or client's growth. Follow? That's where the problem starts. That's where we start to overshoot our audience. And that's the mistake that YouTube sensations and people who've been able to amass a huge following, people like Adrienne Meisler, that's the mistake they aren't making. So that's the desire for change, and how our own desire for change and growth, when we mistake it as a business strategy, can actually sabotage our growth. But let's talk about this other one that could be a little harder to talk about or admit, and it's our desire to impress. So I first heard about this kind of earlier on in my entrepreneurial journey, at least my entrepreneurial journey of being a bit more of a big-time marketer or online marketer. And I can remember hearing Marie Forleo talk about something called the professor complex. So if you don't know who Marie Forleo is, she is an entrepreneur who sells a product called B-School, which helps people who are new to online business take their business online. So her audience there is really all about people who are new, very new to online business. She helps newbies take their companies online. So Marie Forleo talked about something called the professor complex. And she said one thing that can really derail a person's marketing is when they are sort of positioning themselves like a professor, sort of, and they are talking to their peers. So you're having these sort of high-end, intense conversations with peers rather than meeting your prospects where they are. And when we do that, we're actually making our content and our offerings with an unconscious motivation to impress our peers and colleagues versus serve our audience. Okay, that's the professor complex. I'm going to say it again because it's so important. It's when you make your content and offerings with an unconscious motivation to impress your peers rather than serve your audience. And when that happens, you are allowing your curiosity and your quest for knowledge, which are good things in many ways, to overshadow the impact that you want to make in the world, right? And that is the problem with overshooting your audience, when your curiosity, your quest for knowledge, and ultimately your desire to impress your peers overshadows the impact you want to make in the world. And if you want evidence to really underscore why that's such a problem, I think you need to look at the success stories of women entrepreneurs like Adrienne Meisler from Yoga with Adrienne. Woman has 10 million subscribers. She's huge. She has been covered. She's the reigning queen of at-home yoga, has been covered in major publications. You have massive fans like me using my own platform to try to get you to go check her out because I believe so much in her and her mission. Look at women like Marie Forleo, who has had over 45,000 customers pay her $2,000 to do B school. You do the math, right? This is the power of anchoring in and committing to a core audience rather than overshooting them. Now, I've noticed that people want the results of grounding into an audience, but they don't always want the discipline of actually doing it. So let's explore that. Have you heard of the work of Amy Porterfield? So Amy is best known for, again, teaching new entrepreneurs how to market online. Her audience is primarily made up of business owners or people who are even new to business who may be good offline, but don't really know a lot about online marketing. That's her audience. That's primarily who her products are targeted toward. When I was a brand new entrepreneur, I took one of her courses and it was great. So here's the thing about Amy Porterfield. She's kind of a big deal, and therefore a lot of advanced marketers pay attention to her and what she's doing because she's skilled. And from my experience back in the beginning, I did buy from her and really listen to her podcast a lot, but now I'm more likely to observe what she's doing and kind of think about and be curious about the advanced marketing strategy she's applying to her own business, rather than learning from sort of newbie marketing tactics and techniques. So the thing about Amy Porterfield is she's smart. You don't get to build a multi-million-dollar business and the massive audience that she has done without being smart. And so she likely knows that she's got people who are new and who she's going to teach, and those people are going to buy from her. And then there's going to be advanced marketers who are mostly watching to pay attention what she's doing and observe that way. So I would argue that she's serving and continues to serve her audience of newbies into online marketing, and she is really committed to them. She cares about them. She breaks her content down for them. It's all about them. And she's been really clear about that and focused on that and committed to that. And that's the brand that she has developed. And look at me, I'm talking about her on my podcast. So that's the power of anchoring in and serving an audience. But I can remember talking to an entrepreneur. This was an advanced marketer who'd been around the block. And she said to me, Eleanor, have you noticed that Amy Porterfield's brand hasn't evolved? That she's just still doing the same thing? And I was like, so if you mean, is she still focused on serving and selling to her core audience of newbie online marketers? Yes, I have noticed that. And what's the problem with that? That question of, has her business evolved, was actually the wrong question. I think a better question is that strategy working? And the reality is, it is. She continues to build a really successful business with that primary anchor audience of newbie online marketers. This is the point I really want to get through to you. It's easy to confuse the desire to evolve with business strategy, and they are not the same thing. I have a friend who's a very successful entrepreneur, and she told me once, I will be honest, my marketing bores me. I basically talk about the same thing all the time in 50 different ways. And yes, it bores me, but you know what doesn't bore me? My mission. And I won't stop until I've reached my mission. And I really want you to think about that. How there can be a part of your business that bores you, that maybe feels like you've been there, done that. And sometimes when the boredom kicks in, that's when your mission is most able to take hold. And this is the part that so many entrepreneurs miss. By overshooting your audience, you are actually undermining your efforts to not only build your business, but also fulfill your mission. Let's get into that one. So let's recap. We've defined what I mean by overshooting your audience. We've covered the two core reasons we feel tempted to overshoot our audience. And of course, one is our desire for growth, and the other is our desire to impress. So now let's talk about the risk of overshooting your audience. When you overshoot your audience, you have no choice but to grow through your hustle rather than through your assets. Think about it. When you are overshooting your audience and your marketing and your offerings are continuously a reflection of where you are in your journey, that means you're continuously reinventing the wheel versus leveraging what you already have. Let's think about Marie Forleo and the 45,000 people who have gone through her program, B School. So arguably, there was a point in her development as an entrepreneur where the things that she taught in B School were exactly what she needed to implement in her business. But tens of millions of dollars later, millions of audience members later, she herself as an entrepreneur and her skills and abilities in business has vastly outpaced the relatively simple basic lessons that she teaches in B School. And understand when I say simple basic lessons, I'm not undermining. This is really, really important stuff. I used it when I first got started in online business, right? It's great. But B School hasn't continued to evolve and grow to match where she is as an entrepreneur because she stayed committed to that core audience, which meant that she didn't have to spend all of her time inventing new products and creating new offerings. She was rather able to leverage a single offering that has produced tens of millions of dollars and served tens of thousands of entrepreneurs. That is money, time, and impact. And if you don't commit to an audience, you will never get to experience that. The second problem of not committing to an audience is that you never really get known for something because that core audience can't keep up with you, right? The minute they feel like they've gotten something, you're on to the next thing. And that can be really, really hard to handle. And as somebody who sells knowledge and information, it's a discipline that we need to continue to ask and impose upon ourselves. When that happens, when you're caught in this flywheel of growth and endless transformation, your business can actually become a trap. And in turn, because you can't build that audience, because you don't get known for something, you don't get known for what you do, it makes it very difficult to fulfill your mission. That's what happens when you overshoot your audience. But when you ground into your audience, when you meet them where they are and serve them fully, something really beautiful happens. Let's get back to Adrienne Meisler. This morning, I did yoga with Adrienne, and she did what she always does. She introduced herself and her dog, by the way, is a blue heeler named Benji, who is adorable. She told me to hop into something comfy, and then she guided me through a simple, doable yoga practice. I felt comfortable, and I felt totally at home. And that's why I keep going back to yoga with Adrienne week after week. But she also took a moment at the end of the practice to talk about the community. And how even though I was doing yoga at home alone with her, there were actually hundreds, if not thousands of people practicing with me and Adrienne in that same moment. It felt, I'm going to be honest, kind of amazing. And I felt like I was part of something bigger than me. And that's the power of anchoring into an audience and committing to serve them above all others. You build a legacy, you get your time back, and you are able to generate a really lucrative business in the process. When I think about Adrienne, I think about a woman who has built an incredible business and an incredible legacy. Not by showing us how great she is at yoga or how much she has advanced, but by staying grounded into her community. People like me, and maybe even you, who just want to feel good. We want to do some simple at-home yoga, And we want to be able to relax and feel good in the process. And she has used that anchor to take her mission and her business bigger than she ever thought possible. And that, my queen, is the beauty of committing to an audience. You get cash, you get influence, the ability to meet your mission, and you also get autonomy, time and open space because you are not reinventing the wheel. At Safi Media, we call this a jewel business, where you as the founder are able to build a company that grows 30% or more a year. Because it's so efficiently run, you're able to generate 30% profit margin, and you as the founder have 30% open, unscheduled time to dream, think, strategize, nap, whatever. It's the power of a jewel business, the power of generating CIA, cash, influence, and autonomy. And that comes from committing to an audience and being truly devoted to them. Okay, I hope you enjoyed that episode all about committing to an audience. Now, I've told you about the 80-20 rule, the Pareto principle. If you've listened to this podcast before, you know that this is one of the governing influences in my life. And Richard Koch, who sort of popularized the Pareto principle, talks about key decision points in life. And he talks about how one of the key decision points for many people is who we decide to spend our life with. And in truth, when I think about my decision to get married to Leon, who is my life partner, it is honestly one of the most important and trajectory-altering life decisions I ever made. Now, the same is true of the audience you commit to. Choosing your audience is a really important decision no matter where you are in your business journey. Audience choice is a 7-figure decision, and that's why we focus on it in Power Presence Position. If you know that you either need to recommit to an audience or niche down inside a larger audience, or you know that you want to make a transition and you want to make sure you're choosing the right audience, we can help you with that. Go to powerpresenceposition.com to learn more about the program and apply to see if you're fit to work with us. Still here? Amazing. So our mission here at Safi Media is to double the number of women entrepreneurs who hit 7 figures by 2030. And we're doing it through education, storytelling, and business coaching. And look, this is all about advancing gender equity globally, and we cannot do it alone. We are so happy to produce this podcast free of charge, and we would love your help in getting this info out into the hands of others. So if you enjoy the show, one way to do us a solid is to leave us a review. And along that vein, I want to highlight one of our amazing listeners, Afton Brazani. She gave us a 5-star review and said, thought-provoking conversations. I can't get enough of Eleanor's podcast. The content is bang on, and it always feels like she is speaking directly to me. This is a nod to how well Eleanor understands her audience and what they're going through in their businesses. I also love the insightful guests she brings on the show. Thank you so much, Afton. I so appreciate it. And thank you for spending your time with me here at Power Presence Position. Have a beautiful week.